to Pioneertown.
I have no idea where she's going.
What is it? Good morning, and welcome back to part 3 of our trip to Joshua Tree. If you missed part 1 and part 2, make sure to check them out after this video. This morning I whipped up some leftovers, which ended up being a breakfast pasta of sorts, which I know is a little bit weird, but it actually tasted amazing with some fresh burrata on top. Today we have an extra fun day planned, complete with a trip to Pioneertown and a very special birthday surprise Nathan planned for our last night in Joshua Tree. Isn't he sweet?
So what Rachel doesn't know yet is that I've booked her a surprise stargazing tour in Joshua Tree. It's at 8 p.m. this evening. Not sure what it's going to be like in terms of visibility for things, because I don't know much about astronomy, but it is a full moon. But the skies are clear, so if anything, it's going to be wonderful walking outside in the desert to the full moon. And during the stargazing tour, there's going to be experts informing us on what's going on in the sky and the planets and the stars and all that other stuff. I'll know a lot more about it after I do it, but it was Rachel's main present for the trip. Very excited for that. You can probably hear I'm pretty tired. I've been pretty deprived of sleep for a while. Got a lot going on. But I'm drinking coffee. I'm doing some reading for a book that I'm writing. And yeah, I'll keep you all posted. But I'm really excited that Rachel's going to have her surprise. And she doesn't know that I'm recording this right now, and it's on her phone, so I hope she doesn't look at it. I'll just tell her not to look at it.
After breakfast and Nathan's secret message, we hit the road and headed towards Pioneertown. Hi again. We're on our way / already kind of there to Pioneertown near Joshua Tree. And it's really beautiful. There's all of these crazy mountains around us, these like roller coaster type hills, and we could see a snowy mountain in the background, which is also cool. Super scenic.
Yeah, rocky and shrubby desert hills look really cool.
Yeah. There's parking. Is this it right here? It must be.
Just pioneering, just exploring.
Whoa. Oh my god.
Don't climb fence, okay?
Ah. Made it.
We are here.
See you in a second.
See you soon.
Although Pioneertown may look like a genuine old western town, it was actually founded by a group of Hollywood investors who dreamed of creating an old west set. With 1880s style false front buildings, it is still a living, breathing motion picture set today. Unfortunately, this came with some rules, so we weren't allowed to film in much of the town, but highly recommend the visit if you're ever in the area. On the main street, there are some actual shops and stores that you can go in, as well as 2 restaurants, Pappy and Harriet's, which is fantastic, and the Red Dog Saloon, which also looked very lively and cool.
Did you like the turkey? Was that you making that noise? Yeah, the donkey did look a bit sad. I don't think the donkey's pioneering.
I don't have anything funny to say about that. Should we keep walking?
Yeah, let's do it.
Coming.
Let's do it. I have no idea where she's going. Good little spin though. As you can tell, she has no idea I'm filming with all this. This is all just perfectly natural. Walking away, walking back, like a badass in the desert. What a fucking legend.
So basic. As you can probably tell, the heat was definitely going to our heads. While we're sad we can't show you more of Pioneertown, we highly recommend a visit. And be sure to check out Pappy and Harriet's for live music too. So we just left Pioneertown proper, Main Street. We don't know if we're going to include the clips or not because there's some mixed opinions on that. So if you don't see it and you don't see this in there, then we've cut it out.
But we were there, we had quite a good time, but we've had more exciting times elsewhere. So you're not missing anything. Well, that's a bit of a lie, but you're not missing.
It was cool. It's like the town is all, was built to be a film set, I guess. So some of the buildings are just kind of look like faux buildings for filming. And others are like active shops, and there's 2 restaurants. We've been to Pappy and Harriet's before a few years ago, the first time we came to Joshua Tree, and that was really fun. They've got live music, and the food was good from what I remember. I think tonight we're going to go to a different saloon though, called the Joshua Tree Saloon. But first we're going to check out another ceramics store. We saw one pottery store there in Pioneertown. And this one's called ZZ Ceramics, I believe. And then maybe another antique store, and then happy hour, right, Nathan?
Correct. And then we're doing what I spoke about earlier that Rachel still doesn't know what it is.
Oh yeah, another surprise event. We had like a surprise sound bath last night, which was awesome. I'm getting very spoiled on this trip. Nathan's planned a bunch of really special stuff.
She's a special.
Oh, he's the best. Did you enjoy Pioneertown though, Nathan?
Yeah, as I said, it's America's so good at fakeness, it fakes its own history.
It's true.
It feels authentic, so I guess they've got authentic things to build off, but it's quite surreal walking through a town called Pioneertown that is really...
That was never an actual town.
It's kind of not a real town, but also functioning in some ways. There'll be like random buildings like the bank that aren't functioning. Not one has anything, and then there's like actual like shops and like a restaurant bar thing at the back and at the front. So it's kind of this weird like limbo western real fake town.
I recommend you Google it. If we're not able to include clips from it, type it into Google and check it out. There's plenty of photos on there, and I'm sure there's some of your favorite shows that have been recorded there too. So very interesting place, right in the middle of the desert. And my arm is starting to hurt.
Yeah, and we're almost at the ceramic store, so we'll be back in a bit.
Bye. After going to ZZ Ceramics and a few other thrift stores, we were driving to another antique store, Desert Curios, when... What is happening? There's a big thing. I have no idea.
A lot of cop cars for a truck.
I don't know, that was crazy. What did he say? Like, nobody move? Always comforting.
What have I done?
And then, as you just saw, some very oversized load came through.
You know, you got an anxious brain. It's just like, what if someone's planted heroin in the car?
Just found this new belt at the thrift store. Finally, I found something. I feel like I've gone to a few stores and then have come up empty-handed. And Nathan got a bunch more books.
Whoops.
So we need to do a full book haul at some point.
Yeah, we'll show some of what we got on this trip.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it was cool. There was books on African art and culture, a book on ancient Rome and Greece, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a couple of others.
I think we're off to find another to do because we're a bit stumped. We're headed to Joshua Tree National Park because we're here, and why not actually go to the national park?
Haiku.
What?
Sorry, it's just in my head.
What's your haiku?
Dust storm, no longer craving a cigarette.
Oh, I like it.
Yeah.
That's good.
You can continue with what you were saying. I'm sorry.
No, everything else is
that's
unimportant.
All I'll be able to think about until it like gets out of me because I want to write it down.
This is what life with Nathan is like, just spontaneous poems all the time. And usually I'm the car scribe of, ooh, I just put my hand in front of the camera. I'm the car scribe to record these poems while we're driving. So I'm glad I was actually recording this, so I don't have to do that.
Scribe! I usually shout louder, but for the sake of people that's watching's ears, I don't want to.
That's very kind of you.
But if it was just Rachel, I'd be screaming. If she doesn't write it down like quick enough, I literally just shriek for 20 minutes sometimes.
You're a shrieker.
I'm a shrieker, yeah.
So anywho, we're going to the national park. Nathan found our national park pass, which is cool, which is good.
Put it back on your face.
Don't tell me how to edit.
Shut up.
Anyway, like I was saying, we're headed to the national Joshua Tree National Park, which is a bit silly that throughout this whole thing we're like, what should we do? And we're like, oh, there's a huge national park that we have been to before, but I think because obviously we're not really dressed in hiking clothes, we're probably just gonna take a little gander around. We've got our national park pass, which is good for a year. If you're into going to national parks and hikes and trails and camping and all of that good stuff, recommend you get one if you live in the States. It's definitely worth it from a savings perspective. And then afterwards, we're gonna hit the happy hour at the Joshua Tree Saloon. So that's our plan.
We're not affiliated with them, by the way. Rachel sounded like she was doing a full-on ad.
Yeah, hashtag not sponsored.
Yeah, just...
But if you'd like to sponsor us...
Yeah. If you want to...
leave our email below.
If you want to pay us to go to national parks, I am not going to. So we just came through the gates of Joshua Tree National Park, and the guy that I handed the park pass to, very friendly, he said, "You have fun today." And I was like, no, I'm not here for fun. And yeah, it's beautiful as I remember. There's a lot of dry rock away from all the Joshua trees and the cool little flowers. I want to know, I haven't looked it up, how deep Joshua tree roots are. Because I know cactus obviously have to probe like really far down, and I'm guessing it's similar, but what's the process of that? How deep is the seed when it starts to grow? You know?
Yeah.
That I feel like could be put on an inspirational poster.
Last time we came here was Nathan's birthday, so it's nice to come back for my birthday now.
That was what it was?
Mm-hmm.
Damn.
Yep.
That was ages ago. I'm getting old.
More rules in this video. As federal law prevents filming in national parks, and for good reasons, here are some clips of us driving and wandering around in the desert. If you're looking for some photo opportunities that have a similar feel, definitely check outside of Pioneertown as well.
It's dramatic, bro.
Really zoomed in on your face.
Well, that's dramatic too, isn't it?
It is.
Dramatic's a good word, isn't it? As you know, words with T sounds and sounds, I am a sucker for. I love putting them in poetry, which is probably why I'm struggling with Joshua.
It's too smooth for you.
But I do like the O sounds though. I use the O sounds a lot. And it's got S's, but it's not a harsh S. It's not like snake, it's Josh. Josh. It doesn't feel right, it's Joshua. It's like, it's not a word you can say angrily, it's like hallelujah.
True.
You go, hallelujah. That felt really weird. You're like, hallelujah. Lovely. I like words. I like sounds.
Joshua Tree is so cool. It truly looks like you're driving through another planet with such mesmerizing and unique rock formations, and of course, the famous Joshua trees themselves. For a quick history lesson, settlers believed the trees' outstretched limbs guided them on their westward journey and reminded them of the biblical story of Joshua raising his hands in prayer. Joshua trees can range from 20 years to 300 years old, with the average lifespan around 150 years old. And for the record, a typical Joshua tree has hundreds of roots. Some roots reach deep underground, as much as 10 to 30 feet, in search of water in the dry desert. You can find these Joshua trees all over the Mojave Desert, but please, don't touch them.
Oh, I didn't even know you were
Whoa.
recording. Oh my goodness.
It's so funny that you just caught us being so natural.
Yeah. Joshua trees and rocks.
I didn't even plan that.
She knows.
That's what I was expecting to happen.
Okay.
When I watched you do it, I was like, that's definitely.
Time for a drink. Let's go. All right, finally, something we can show you here. After the park, we headed to Joshua Tree Saloon, which is a Western saloon offering amazing burgers, tacos, cocktails, and more. We were there during happy hour and both got burgers. They were pretty delicious. Just outside the restaurant is another store we visited before called Coyote Corner. There's also some cool Western storefronts that I couldn't help getting some touristy photos in front of. Feeling full and happy, we got back on the road to head to our surprise stargazing tour. On our way, we saw the biggest, brightest full moon I think either of us had ever seen. While it doesn't translate on camera, in fact, our quality on our iPhone here is pretty poor, we have a few photos of the moon from that night we'll pop in the video. Okay guys, this really was so special. The stargazing tour was 2 hours long. It was complete with telescopes with computerized tracking, binoculars, hot cocoa, snacks, outdoor beanbag pillows, blankets, and the most knowledgeable guides ever. Joshua Tree is an international dark sky park, meaning they're extra conscious about light pollution here. And we couldn't be more grateful for that, as we were able to see so many stars and learn so much that night. While we're not sponsored by any of the places mentioned in this video, we'll link them below if you want to check them out. This experience honestly was so worth it. There's nothing like looking up into the night sky to remind you how small we are. We often spend our days caught up in the daily grind, our 9-to-5s, and then we look up at this vast, unimaginable expanse. It's a humbling reminder that we're just a tiny speck on a pale blue dot. Our last morning in Joshua Tree. And truly, what an adventure we've had these last few days. We spent the morning packing up our stuff and took in the beauty of this very special place. Sounds like, it feels like we're about to make some sort of like apology video. It feels really serious.
Or we've been kidnapped and there's someone behind
Like
the camera.
at gunpoint.
And I'm like, hello. The first thing I want to say is that we are very, very safe.
So it's the next day, and it's our last day in Joshua Tree. The car's all packed and we're almost ready to head back home. Before we did that, we wanted to quickly show you some of the cool treasures that we found here in Joshua Tree, particularly books. We have a stack of books in front of us and we have a little keychain. I think out of this stack, only one of the books is mine.
Sure.
If that tells you something.
Yeah, I pretend to read more. All right. Do you want to sit that side so you can see whether the books are being captured properly when I hold them up.
Sure.
And I'll do the book haul. So I picked up a fair few books. Let's start with this one. We have Astrology and Religion Among the Greeks and Romans by Franz Cumont, I think his name is. Relatively short book. Not heard of it before, but definitely took my interest. It's only 110 pages, and obviously we were looking at the stars. Obviously that's astronomy we were doing, but astronomy is obviously linked because it's astro and in space. That's one. The other book that I got from a used bookstore is called The Laughter of the Sphinx by Michael Palmer. This is a more avant-garde, kind of modernist poet, and I've only just started reading this, but what I've seen so far is excellent. Boop. What We Did While We Made More Guns by Dorothy Baresi. This is another poetry book I found in the used bookstore. Another poet I hadn't heard of before, which I always love. I haven't really read much of this yet, so I can't pass too much of a comment on it, but she was endorsed by Lynn Thompson, who is a poet that we are going to have featuring in Malibu at our Caffeinated Verse series in January, so that's really cool, and I only just noticed that now. So let's go on that. Next is the Threshold issue of Parabola. This is a magazine that I think it's been running for quite a long time, like quite a number of decades. I don't know a ton about it. I've bought one or two of them before. My current friend and non-fiction book editor has been reading this for decades, so he was excited when I first discovered it, and he's like, oh yeah, Parabola's great stuff. So really excited to read through this. You know, you'll see the name Kafka along the top, and I think, what else do we have? Thomas More and Thomas Merton. I think Thomas Merton talks a lot about prayer, so I'm always attracted by something that says something like threshold, or, sorry, Roadrunner just went outside there. Hi, what are you doing? It's got a cool little tail, pecking at some bugs. He's just gone, you might, oh, yeah, looking at you now. Anyway, yeah, anything that says like threshold or liminal or something that's to do with the spaces between things and the transformation between things is always going to attract my interest. This one, African Kingdoms. It was placed among African masks and other art in the antique store. So this was, I think, seemed like a really cool find. So there's all these wonderful images in here, and it feels accessible. And to start gaining knowledge in a new area, I always want to start with things that are accessible. So this one is Rachel's, maybe you can see on the spine. It's called The Odyssey Book of American Wildflowers. Now, again, this, we see a lot of books about wildflowers or birds, and they're so thick, obviously, because there's so many, but they feel unapproachable because of it. Because it's like, well, how am I going to find a bird that I don't know the name of in a 1,000-page book? That's difficult. Obviously, you can start identifying them, but when you don't have as much of a foothold in something, it's harder to look through. This, again, like the other book I was talking about, seems a lot more accessible. There's images, the text is relatively large, which I think it is to its strength for something that can help us learn more about the wildflowers in America, and obviously the ones around us in Southern California and wherever we go on our trips. And finally, this is, I'm going to say a similar thing about this, but it's Wisdom Keepers. What's it? Meetings with Native American Spiritual Elders by Steve Wall and Harvey Arden. And this is a book, as it's quite well described by its title itself. I'll just read the blurb on this one because I think it's interesting. It says, "The spiritual heritage of Native American people is here. It has not been extinguished. I believe the spiritual fire still burns and is beckoning for America, indeed, the world, to come closer, to listen, to learn, and to share in its warmth and comfort. It is time that the buckskin curtain be drawn back. It is time. I know it. Teach the children. The grandfathers and the grandmothers are in the children. If we educate them, our children tomorrow will be wiser than we are today. They're the grandfathers and the grandmothers of tomorrow. And I think that's just lovely. It sounded like a poem itself. Another thing that I feel almost like shamefully I don't know enough about, I know I've got an English accent, but I'm also half American, and this is part of my own history, part of my mother's history, part of my wife's history, and I live here now, so I see it more as a duty to learn more about these things. So again, wanting to start somewhere that seemed deep spiritually and, talking about wisdom, but also approachable and something that I can get a better foothold in, so as I explore these topics more. So really grateful to have found these books, and I cannot wait to read them. And that's all the books that we got on this trip, and I will check in at some point when I've read them. I have many books on my to-read list that I own, so it's always sometimes things I'll read in like 5 years from now, some things I might start reading tomorrow, some I might bring with me on another trip to go through, so who knows, but I'll check back in about it at some point. Oh, and to any of the books that are available, we'll put them in the links below. I just wanted to record when we went to Stargazing. I've been writing haiku this whole trip. This is one that I wrote from the Stargazing. It's who's looking at who through the telescope? Full moon. Thank you.
I love it. Before leaving, we made one last Joshua Tree stop at the Crossroads Cafe for breakfast, which was delicious if you're ever in the area. And just like that, we were off. Thank you for watching our adventures in Joshua Tree. If you missed any parts of this series, they'll be linked for you below. Don't forget to like, share, and comment, as it really supports our channel. You can also subscribe to Nathan's poetry newsletter for more poetry, writing prompts, events, and more. We'll see you again soon.